Hey guys, what's going on? So we're going to be moving on to wizards now, starting with Cleo. She is still not very much in the spotlight. Let's see what changes with her. Her T5 Dark, her Ember damage is going to be increased by 200%. I'll take a gamble and assume that's better than 5% of attack on every attack based off the number of embers stacked on the enemy. Her unique weapon is getting increased by 100%, and her auto attack range is getting increased by 20%, so she can stay a little bit further back, it looks like, which in most cases is good. She'll be out of the range of some bigger AoE skills. So she only has 2 real changes, but they do seem very significant, so it could be a game changer for Cleo users. Next we're looking at Maria. She's getting a small buff to her first skill, Ravenstorm, just a little damage boost there. And besides that, we just have some perk revamps. Got an extra half-second shackle duration on her Claws of Restriction. Alright, it's pretty small, but half a second could make a difference in some arena battles. Area of Darkness Light. Has another little amp on it. Maria actually is really good for amping magical damage, and this makes it so where you can have like all of her skills decreasing their M defense. Maria's third skill can also be reduced by 1 mana instead of having its stun duration increased by 2 seconds, and the mana reduction cost can be quite significant. This may boost her use rate in arena a little bit because of the fact she can get it off significantly faster. Also, her unique weapon damage is increased by 150%, which is also very significant. Moving on to Lorraine now. Jesus Christ, I just saw that her skill cooldown of her third skill is getting reduced by 7 seconds, going down to 23. This will make her even better for world bosses, which is where I'm using her. So that's really awesome. And her first skill is getting a damage buff as well as a 1 second cooldown reduction. So really cool skill revamps there for her. I think she really needed this one though, because 30 seconds was way too long for her third skill in my opinion, so thankfully that's getting reduced quite significantly. Her T5 Dark is getting buffed as well, going from every 10 seconds to every 7 seconds. She'll be attacking a random enemy with her first skill. Same story with her unique weapon effect. It's activating every 7 seconds instead of 10, and her poison is also getting increased by 30%. So overall, a pretty massive buff for Lorraine. Thankfully, it's good to see. Moving on to Pavel, his first skill is just getting a buff, 20% more damage, and the projectile speed is increased. Second skill is a little bit confusing. His damage is increased, but decreased while attacking enemies inflicted with frost. So he won't do as much when they're inflicted with frost, but overall it's getting buffed. So it's a little bit weird. Maybe while they're not frosted, he'll just do extra damage, and while they are frosted, he'll do the same damage as he was beforehand because of the aforementioned damage increase to start off with. Third skill gets a 5-second reduction in cooldown, and his passive gets a pretty significant damage buff and activation and projectile speed buff. So all in all, his skill revamps are straight buffs to pretty much everything. You can reduce the mana cost of his third skill by 1 on his Icy Conquest Light Transcendence perk. I don't know how many people are bringing Pavel to solo target places, but that'll be less viable now since the damage won't be increased when the enemy is alone. Same with his passive skill. That apparently is changing into reducing the target CC resistance by 250. It's a little bit weird. Maybe take a different perk. And his T5 Dark is getting completely revamped. Every 3 seconds attacks all enemies and deals 50% of attack as M damage, inflicting frost with a 50% chance. Enemies already inflicted with frost takes 300% of attack as M damage over time for 3 seconds. Well, that definitely sounds much better than when mana is full, all skill cooldowns are reduced by 1.5 seconds. So I think all in all, Pavel got a pretty significant buff. Moving on to Aisha, another hero that needed a buff. Her first skill is getting an AoE increase of 40%, and all of her other skills are just getting a damage boost and a skill cooldown reduction on her second and third skill, 2 seconds for her beam and 3 seconds for her torrential rainfall. Again, all in all, a pretty significant buff. 10% damage might not seem like a lot, but she still does do decent damage, and I think that buff will be enough to bring her back. Her Mystic Barrage can be a way to actually get back mana if she has a high crit rate or max crit rate, because upon a crit hit, she'll recover 300 mana, which is approximately 1/3 of an orb, a little bit less. And her T5 Dark doubles the crit damage buff she gets. And that has a max stack of 50, so she can potentially get 100% crit damage buff instead of 50, as well as the mana regen she has. Also a small buff to her unique weapon activation chance, 10% more chance. So all in all, it's a modest buff, but I think enough for those that have already invested in Aisha to feel good using her again, because I don't think the solo time nerf was as big as a lot of people made it out to be, and all of this together, I think, makes her better than she was before. Nyx, auto attack is reduced by 15%, nothing else to say there. It's probably not going to be a huge deal. Of course, he won't be as strong in places like Arena or anywhere else, since his auto attack was his main source of damage, but there's really nothing to do about it or to even say about it anymore. They basically just cut his damage potential. Lewisia, Jesus Christ, I think I might have to make a separate video on her altogether. Literally everything got changed. It even says there, Lewisia's skills are all revamped. Alright, after a bit of a break, I'm ready to take on Lewisia now with all of her changes. Okay, unfortunately for Lewisia, they don't say what they changed, and I've never owned Lewisia and I'm not sure what she was like before, so I can really only comment on what she is now, and we can start with her first skill. So all of her skills focus around these blood stacks that can stack up to 100 times. They are undispellable. Every one of her skills can be up to 50% stronger depending on how many stacks she has, and it seems as though every attack she does inflicts the target with a blood curse, kind of like Mitra's stacks, and she has quite a bit of magical amping capabilities with her first and second skill. So in summary, that's pretty much her skill set there. I can't really go into too much more detail with very much confidence, so we're going to be moving on to her Transcendence perks. For Blood Orb, personally, I would rather take the 25% increased Im damage for 10 seconds, just more amping. I think that's always good when you have other magic damage dealers, say in World Boss. I only see one perk for Blood Zone, so I'm not sure if she's keeping one of them. Blood Banquet would be a good one for longer fights like World Boss, Guild Raid, any single target long fight stuff, because they should have 80 stacks pretty quickly, and then all skill cooldowns are reduced 5 seconds per attack once they have 80 stacks, so that actually sounds quite good. And then we have Blood Dominator, which changes the max stacks to 200, so she is actually looking much like a magical version of Mitra, in this case. A little bit different, of course, but she does get additional damage for all 3 of her main skills, so I still think she is more of a long fight hero more than anything. So I think she's just got a little bit better at what she does, and it looks like her unique weapon got changed as well. If HP is over 50%, attack is increased. If HP is under 50%, she'll take reduced damage, kind of similar to her passive skill, where attack will be increased further when her HP is above 50%. But of course, you have to keep in mind that all of her main skills use her HP as power. But then of course you do get some HP back from the blood stacks, as well as any lines of lifesteal, which she should have since she is a DPS. So if there are any long-time Lewisia users out there, you can kind of share your thoughts down there. I would appreciate that, because I never paid too much attention to Lewisia. Looking at her skills and her Transcendence perks, she does seem very interesting, like mainly for the longer fight stuff because of those blood curse stacks. But yeah, that's basically it for Lewisia and for wizards. We're going to be moving on to priests now, starting with Rafi, another one I'm not too familiar with. I have like every single priest except Rafi and Kaula. So of course we have to start with Rafi. He's getting skill revamps to his first and fourth skill. So his first skill is getting a straight buff. It just doubles the amount of allies he can heal and literally nothing else. So he's just getting a straight buff there. So in a normal 4-man team, he'll heal everyone. So that's actually quite cool. His fourth skill is also just getting a straight buff. Instead of every 10 seconds, it's every 7 seconds with the same effect. Healing Soul Light, again, straight buff. It'll affect every ally. So regardless if there's 8 for World Boss or 9 for a Dragon Raid, whatever. And it's only increased by 1 instead of 2. So that's actually a really big buff. And his passive, you can make that proc every 5 seconds instead of 7 seconds. So every 5 seconds, he'll heal the ally with the lowest HP and give them an orb of mana. So Rafi is actually looking pretty good. I think he was already pretty good before his buffs here, but yeah, looking even better now. Next we have Bao. It looks like the only thing not changing on his skills are his shield, which, you know, some people would be fine with. His first skill is getting a straight buff to everything. The AoE is increased, the recovery is increased, and the skill cooldown is decreased by 2 seconds. I'm not sure if they mean that the skill cooldown reset effect is removed upon killing an enemy is the new thing, or that effect is being removed now. But so looking at his skill in game, it looks like everything stays the same. It just he doesn't have that effect where the cooldown is reset when he kills someone with it. But I guess he probably won't be killing anyone anyway, so it's fine. And it gets a point of mana knocked off of it, so a buff there in my opinion. And his passive skill, Training of God, the damage is increased by 300% there, so maybe we can start seeing some DPS Baudouins. It's only a 20% chance per attack of dealing this extra damage, but when when he does, I guess it could be a pretty significant amount. And his Transcendence perks are only changed for his first skill, so this one's more of a side grade. The damage and heal is only 40% instead of 80%, but it doesn't cost an additional mana, so it's kind of a trade-off there. And then with the other perk, hit enemies are just stunned for a second instead of a 20% chance for a 2-second stun. And like I was saying with Luna, I think the guaranteed 1-second stun is much better than a 20% chance for a 2-second stun, because the 1-second stun also can interrupt. A tiny little change to Leo, nothing too significant here. His first skill will just ignore enemy defense now and have a slightly longer cooldown on it. Looks like Laius is basically getting sort of nerfed. Like, her mana cost for her bubble shield is getting increased to 3, and instead of getting crit resistance boosted by 125, you now just get another 25% defense increase, which, you know, for Arena, I would rather take the crit resistance, because just 25% more MDef on what that sort of small amount is, probably is less effective than the crit resistance. And now we're looking at Cassandra. Just her Transcendence perks were reworked. So we have this Softly, skill 1. If you choose to go for the attack speed boost, that's getting a buff. It'll last 10 seconds instead of 5, but in Arena with all those Dispellers, it's probably gonna last 5 seconds anyway. And if you choose to go for the Dark skill, that actually got a buff in my opinion, because even though it's the same total mana burn, it's over 5 seconds instead of 10. And since it doesn't say it's undispellable or whatever, they probably can cleanse that. That would do more. And besides, Arena matches probably only last 5 seconds in a lot of cases anyway. So I might actually be switching over to Dark to check that out for a little while. We also got to change to her crit boost, Fiercely, second skill. So instead of being able to heal 1% of max HP every second, the mana cost is just reduced by 1. I'm not going to go for that. And with her third skill, actually we can see a little bit of use outside of Arena with a magic amp for 10 seconds, 25%. Well, that sounds actually pretty good, but I'm not really taking her anywhere outside of Arena. Maybe I could, but only with a magic team, which I don't really run at the moment, so, you know, maybe later. And then we also have the Dark version of Tempting Wave that got changed to just reducing the mana cost by 1. I've never actually tried this, but it always sounded up before they put that 5% chance in there. I assume it was always like that, but that 5% chance wasn't always there. It used to say, while in cooldown, auto attacks upon heroes charm the target for 3 seconds. No 5% chance there. But that would be a little bit overpowered if you just hit someone and they were charmed. Whatever, doesn't matter now, it's completely gone. Just mana cost is reduced now. Mediana got a tiny little change, nothing too significant. Her Strengthening Potion Transcendence perk, you can choose to have the crit chance boosted by 400 instead of the attack speed boosted by 250. Personally, if I was going to go for the Transcendence perk for Strengthening Potion, I would go for the attack boost anyway. And finally, we have May. Never had May. I think a lot of people don't have May. Probably most people that were going for NPCs are going for Gladi, but let's check it out anyway. So these are just the Transcendence perk revamps. Her skill 1 Light will affect everyone instead of just up to 5 allies, so she could be more effective in world boss and dragon raids. In the Dark version of that, you can have the effect stack up to 6 times, and her passive can activate every 12 seconds. I don't even know what that means, because again, I don't have May. I don't know about her skills. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the heroes. I don't even know what to say in summary. My brain is a little bit fried from doing all of this, so take that as you will. There are some other things going on here. I guess we can quickly go over them. The sudden death stuff is getting changed, just HP, defense, and recovery instead of attack, damage, and recovery, so it's probably not a huge deal. Some bug fixes you can read here if you want to. I'm just going to scroll through them really quick, and you can pause. We already talked about the early game revamps, and as predicted, 5 stars can be level 70 now, which is pretty cool. This little change here allows you to get claws a little bit earlier, because it'll be on easy instead of normal. And some other little things, bug fixes. I think 3 heroes, Maria, Kaula, and someone else, have their T5 perks reworked or their bugs fixed. I heard there was some problem with Kaula's T5, and that's been like that since I can remember, so would be cool if that worked all of a sudden. But yeah, I think I'm done with this patch finally, and this will be the last video for today. I'm gonna stop spamming you guys. And I know there's this like 1-year anniversary thing. I'm gonna do a little PSA about that tomorrow. I know it goes into like the 11th of February or something, so there's not too huge of a rush on that, but I do want to get more attention on that because it does depend on how many people actually register for it. But yeah, that'll do it. Make sure to drop your comments and thoughts down below, what you think about the priest and wizard changes. Leaving a like would also be greatly appreciated if you happen to enjoy. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.